Hey guys, Mike with you again today for something a little bit different. This is going to be more of a, origins for maybe a vape genesis, if you will. How I started smoking, how I transitioned into vaping, and excuse me. It's still pretty early, but I wanted to get this while it was still fresh in my mind. So when I was 16, I started smoking. It wasn't because of marketing, it wasn't because of the Marlboro Man, it wasn't because of Joe Camel, it wasn't because of any ads in magazines or TV or any of that crap. It was because I was young and stupid, and I wanted to hang out with this dude that I thought was cool. And he was a smoker. I was taking an art class at a community college for credit. And I remember the first one was nasty. It made me feel like shit. I felt nauseous. I felt like I was going to throw up. I wanted to pass out. I ended up just going to sleep. But for some reason, I wanted another one. I thought I was invincible. I thought that it wouldn't hurt me. That all of the stuff that I'd heard about smoking didn't apply to me because it was vape. Excuse me. Basically, I was stupid. And some of you, I'm sure, actually know me as a person, and I do have an addictive personality, so I have had problems with addiction in my past. I'm sure that has something to do with it, but such is life. So I started smoking. I was smoking between 5 and 10 cigarettes a day for a couple years. It wasn't until I hit 18 that I was smoking like a pack a day or more. But it was around age 21 or so that I first discovered vaping. And it was from a company called Totally Wicked, based out of England, and it wasn't because I was trying to quit smoking at all. It was because I wanted to have my nicotine fix while I was still inside so I wouldn't have to go outside and stop playing video games. Kind of a stupid reason, I know, but that was it. And the reason why it didn't really do it for me was because the technology wasn't the best. It wasn't the most reliable. It wasn't really standardized at all. It was still relatively new. Like, this was when pass-through batteries were the new shit. So that was how I started. And I started off with different flavors like mint chocolate chip. It was long enough ago that I don't even remember what my favorite ones were. But like I said, it just wasn't reliable. And I even tried those, the ones in the mall, the kiosks for smoking everywhere that looked like cigarettes and didn't really work at all for more than like a week. If you're thinking about buying one of those, don't. They're a ripoff. Anyway, so that was how I started vaping. And then I stopped for a while. And yes, I'm going to be switching up my vape for this video. And it wasn't until I was like 24, 25 that I decided I wanted to quit smoking because I was sick of spending the money. Cigarettes were getting up to around $7 a pack where I was living at the time. Excuse me again. They were getting expensive, and I was smoking a little bit over a pack a day. So I figured I'd try the one thing that I'd always heard about, which was the patch and the gum. Well, the gum tasted horrible. If you've tried the gum, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It burns. It burns, it doesn't taste like berries or whatever it says it's supposed to. It tastes like fire. And it kind of makes your stomach hurt. So I would say that's a pretty big flaw. I also tried the patch. And for some reason, on me, I tried sticking the patch everywhere. I tried it right here. I tried it on my back, like on my shoulder blade. I tried it right here. I tried shaving the area beforehand. I tried, like, using, just antibacterial, not like lotion or anything, soap on the area so that it would stick nicely. And it never stuck. After like 3 hours, it would just fall off. So then I was stuck with nicotine in my system, but no patch, and a craving to smoke. So I'd smoke, and I'd get all nicked out and feel like crap. And then I'd start getting stressed out, and I'd want another cigarette. Because that's just how smoking goes. So I tried that, didn't work. I actually tried the patch and the gum like 2 or 3 times each. So then I tried cold turkey. I'm an addictive personality. That did not work. That worked for like a couple of hours, maybe. I'd never really thought of smoking as a way to quit. I tried using it as a way to cut down, like throughout my workday, but that didn't really work because, like I said, it wasn't reliable. So I tried hypnosis. Nah. So then I tried Chantix. If you're out there and you're thinking of quitting smoking, don't do it. Don't do the Chantix. Those times that I tried Chantix were some of the most miserable moments in my life. All the side effects that they talk about, the bad dreams that are incredibly vivid, that happened to me. The suicidal thoughts, that happened to me. I mean, I was struggling with depression, but it got worse. It got much, much worse. I felt nauseous all the time. I just randomly start getting like vertigo. It made me not want a cigarette, but to be completely honest, I feel like it wasn't worth it. Because it made me have, really bad suicidal thoughts. Like, worse than I normally was at that time, but it was bad. I mean, I get that it works for some people, but for me, the trade-off, it was not worth it. That wasn't something that I needed. And what good is quitting smoking if you end up killing yourself? Let's be honest. So, I kept smoking, and then, for my New Year's resolution last year, I wanted to give up smoking for my wife and my 2 stepdaughters. So, I decided I was going to give it up, and I was half successful. But then, I found vaping through someone that I consider a pretty good friend, the guy that does my tattoos. I was going to this place called a Veil beforehand, and I had like a little Nautilus tank and some crappy juice, and it was kind of doing the trick, but it wasn't really satisfying. But then this dude that, like I said, he's a tattoo artist, great guy, really talented. He was dripping while he was doing one of my tattoos, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. So, me being curious, I started talking to him about it, and he was telling me about it, recommended a couple places. Whoa. recommended one place in particular, which is where I go now for all of my B&M needs. But to be completely honest, I credit him with saving my life. Because at this point, because of smoking, I was at that point where I'm sure a number of you have been, where I was waking up in the middle of the night, just coughing. I was waking up in the middle of the night wanting a cigarette. I was having trouble breathing, like I'd get winded going upstairs. And I'm a reasonably athletic guy. That's not supposed to happen to me. I mean, I ran cross country in high school, all that. So it was disturbing, to say the least, that it was happening to me. So he showed me how he was using his RDA and how he rebuilt it, all that stuff. He got me going to this place, and I decided to go there. I think it was the next day, and threw down some money. And that was it. Initially, my thoughts were, okay, I'm going to slowly transition from smoking actual cigarettes to vaping, and then I'm gonna just stop. What ended up happening was I didn't slowly transition. I transitioned damn near overnight, because vaping tastes so much better. It's night and day. I think it was within a couple of days I had stopped smoking actual cigarettes. And I transitioned entirely over to vaping, which was pretty awesome. So that already, I know there's a couple of arguments out there that say, oh, people are going to be smoking in addition to vaping. It's going to be a supplementary source of nicotine. Bullshit. Vaping tastes better. You can do it inside easier. Like, I vape indoors with my wife and 2 stepdaughters because I'm not going to smoke indoors with my wife and 2 stepdaughters, because I'm not going to expose them to all of the secondhand smoke and all of the chemicals that are in it. That just wouldn't be right to me. So I started vaping, and like I said, I overnight stopped smoking. Literally. And I went entirely to vaping. Now, granted, it wasn't like I stopped spending money, because, I was vaping and I was new to it, so I wanted lots of cool stuff. But still, it was way better than smoking. I wasn't having to go outside every hour or so, wasn't coming back in smelling like cigarettes, and it was a good change. I stopped coughing all the time. I stopped, hacking up a lung in the middle of the night and first thing in the morning. I actually stopped snoring. I actually had somewhat bad sleep apnea, and after I quit smoking, I stopped snoring. I was sleeping better than ever. I started being able to taste food again. That was huge for me. I had no idea what I was missing out on, because it had been so long. And just within a couple of weeks, I could breathe better. Like, I wasn't getting winded going up and down stairs. I could go outside and go on, like, long walks. I could go on a jog and not get winded. Now, that's basically my story. And then, I started experimenting more with different stuff. I went from starting off with, God, I don't remember what it was. It was I think MVP 2.0 and a Nautilus tank. Now I'm with a Zigelli 100 Watt Plus and a Mephisto sub-ohming. but it's less money than I would have spent on cigarettes. I did some math, and last year, if I'd been smoking from January 1st until December 31st, I would have spent about $4,500 on smoking, minimum. That's also not factoring in having to go to the doctor because I got bronchitis. That's not factoring in having to get medications for bronchitis. That's not factoring in like having to get body sprays because I smelled like cigarettes all the time. So, let's just go with $4,500. I spent maybe $1,000, $1,500 at most on vaping, which is probably a lot more than a lot of people, but I know it's also a lot less than a lot of people, and it's also about $3,000 less than smoking. I'm gonna count that as a win, especially because a lot of it was because I'm getting into the more hobby aspect of it. One other thing, though, is I stopped smoking overnight. I was also using 18 milligrams in a tank. Without meaning to, without trying to, I started cutting that down. Now I'm dripping 3 milligrams, and granted I'm sub-ohming, but I'm also putting 3 milligrams in a tank, like a Atlantis or a Billow, and I'm cool. Like, I'm fine. I'm not, I found myself, if I start dripping 6 milligrams, sometimes I start to get a little nicked out. So just naturally, I'm cutting down on the nicotine. And eventually, hopefully I'll be at 0. So, with all that in mind, there's a whole bunch of crap going on with vaping where people are saying that it should be illegal or that it's worse than smoking or that it needs to be heavily regulated or taxed. But there are a couple of problems with that. Let's start off with the one that annoys me the most. People are saying that it's being marketed to kids because of the flavoring. No. Just no. And here's why. I'm a grown man. I'm 28 years old. I am loving Stamina by Beta Elixir. It's a peach ring pop candy. It's a candy flavor. I love it. I'm an adult. Berry Crunch. It's supposed to be Captain Crunch by Elix Vaper. Captain Crunch. Grown man. One of my favorite flavors. It's not marketed towards kids. It's marketed as a good flavor. It's something that isn't a cigarette. And the thing is, I've noticed that I've been getting into a lot of sweet flavors. I started off with like the fruit flavors, the candy flavors, and that's what did it for me. Because it's a sweet flavor. It's a nice flavor. I mean, who doesn't love ring pops and cereals and lemonade and strawberry kiwi and peaches? Everyone loves that. Not just kids. Everyone. I mean, some of the best flavors out there are dessert flavors. And you're going to say that that's marketed towards kids? Okay, let's say that's marketed towards kids. What about cotton candy flavored vodka? What about gummy flavored vodka, like gummy bears? What about the energy drinks that have alcohol in them, like malt liquor, which... What about all that crap? What about all of the advertisements on TV that show people having a party and drinking beer? You're telling me that that doesn't appeal to kids? Come on. This isn't marketed towards kids. It's marketed towards adults that want to be able to taste something that maybe they haven't tasted in a while. I know a lot of adults, switched from Lucky Charms to, like, Raisin Bran. I don't know why I didn't. I still love my Lucky Charms. But saying that the flavors are marketed specifically towards kids because we're trying to lure them in and make them buy our products, that's ludicrous. That's insane. It's straight up stupid. I mean, there have been so many reports that are using scare tactics to say kids are now experimenting with electronic cigarettes in school. Okay. How many of them have experimented with actual cigarettes? Which are, overall, I would say, easier to get your hands on. How many of them experimented with alcohol or drugs? It's something new. Of course they're going to experiment with it. When, a couple years ago, there was this whole thing where it was, this CD had, waves on it that would mess with your head and make you feel high. Do you know how many kids had that CD? Like, just because it was available online, you couldn't track that. Kids are trying to get fucked up. I mean, that's the reality of it. It's not because it's marketed towards kids, it's because kids see it and they're like, oh, well, let me try this. I smoke, so if I use this, it doesn't smell like smoke, so I'll not get caught. Kids are kids. Come on. It's not marketed towards them. It's marketed, like I said, towards adults who want a different flavor aside from tobacco or alcohol. Which would be me. Now, the whole, you can use drugs with them. Yeah, you could get cannabis oil and you could put it on a dripper and you could smoke it. But you can also use a soda can as a pipe. Does that mean we should get rid of sodas? You can make a bong out of this. You can also make a pipe out of this. Does this mean that Sprite is marketed towards kids so that we can get them hooked on drugs? It's the same type of logic. No, it is not. And let's be honest, stoners are MacGyvers. I mean, you could probably give a stoner a VCR and 10 minutes later he'd have a bong. Just because you can use it for drugs doesn't mean that that's what it was intended or designed for. Because it wasn't... Yeah, there's dry herb vaporizers out there. Specifically for pot, but those have been there for a while. They're going to be there for a long time. That's not vaping. That's a different delivery method for a completely different solution or chemical. It's THC versus nicotine. It's apples and rabbits. There is no comparison. It's not even apples and oranges because those are still fruit. No. It's ridiculous to compare the two. I mean, just because something can be used for drugs does not mean that that is its sole purpose. I watch a lot of the TV show Intervention. I see them smoking like meth and stuff off of aluminum foil. Let's ban aluminum foil. That Reynolds company, nope, they're trying to get people to do meth. You see how ridiculous that sounds? For real? So, now, this one I don't even know if I can say with a straight face. The whole idea that Big Tobacco is behind vaping, and that they're trying to get people to do it, and it's worse for you than cigarettes. Okay, yes, the major tobacco companies do own their own vaping companies, like Vuse and Blue, but that's one thing. I mean, this isn't Vuse, this isn't Blue. This isn't any of that crap. This is Sigeli. This is Mephisto. It's not funded by Big Tobacco. It's ridiculous saying that it's all a conspiracy. I mean, this is some second shooter on the grassy knoll shit right now. It's not. It's something that people saw a market for and decided, you know what? I don't see this in there. Or I don't think that this is as well manufactured as it could be, and I think I could do better. It's not Big Tobacco saying, I'm going to throw a whole bunch of money at this, because the reason why those things suck is because Big Tobacco hasn't put much money into them. Like, Vuse and Blue are a joke, because they haven't been funded. Why would they put so little funding into that, but, I mean, back this somehow? Come on. And the idea that it's worse for you than smoking is, sorry for my language, but it's fucking ludicrous. I mean, this is propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, and some flavor. And nicotine. Propylene glycol is the only thing in there that could in any way be harmful, really. Like, that any studies have really shown any harmfulness with. But this is also max VG, so I mean, a lot of companies are going that way where they're not really doing 50-50 anymore. They're, more, there's a lot more max VG or 90-10 stuff on the market now than there was a year ago. And yeah, there's nicotine in it. Nicotine, yes, it's a toxin, but it's diluted like crazy. So it's not like I'm getting more nicotine off of this than off of a cigarette. I mean, you can actually measure the amounts. It's nowhere near. And the whole formaldehyde thing, when they tested that, they basically were doing a sustained dry hit. Anyone who vapes knows that dry hits are the worst thing that can ever happen to you. They're just bad. You can't inhale on a dry hit for more than like a second, because you know exactly what's going on. It's not like you take the hit and then you exhale and it's like, oh, that doesn't taste good. You're inhaling and you're like, oh god, and you stop. So if that's the only way that you can get dangerous levels of formaldehyde, then that's fine, because nobody does that. I mean, nobody dry hits on purpose. It happens occasionally, yeah, but it's not done on purpose. And even then, it's not actual formaldehyde, it's hemiacetals, which can cause formaldehyde. It's something like that. So, again, not actual formaldehyde. And I've been seeing recently some people are saying, oh, in butter flavoring and some other flavorings, there's diacetyl, which can cause popcorn lung. Yeah, in heavy concentrations. Popcorn lung got the name because diacetyl is used in butter flavoring, artificial butter flavoring for the Orville Redenbacher popcorn things. And the workers in those factories get what's called popcorn lung from inhaling diacetyl. But here's the thing, they're around diacetyl in the air for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. You're not going to be smoking butter flavoring 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And even if there's butter flavoring in something you're vaping, that's not going to be the primary flavor. And again, it's not like you're vaping pure diacetyl. So again, bullshit. Doesn't really work. I mean, it's probably not the best thing for you, but like I said, it's not like that's all you're vaping, and there's not that much stuff that it uses butter flavoring anyway. And there's so much other just pure misinformation out there, where they're saying, oh, it's actual smoke. No, it's not. It's vapor. It's not water vapor. It's not, I don't believe it's actual H2O, but it's not smoke, and that's the thing. Let's say, theoretically, that it comes out the vaping isn't good for you. It's better than smoking. I'd rather inhale something that isn't good for me through this than the 70,000 plus chemicals that are in a cigarette. I mean, even if this has formaldehyde, so do cigarettes. Cigarettes also have urea, which is found in piss, and arsenic, which is a poison. It's simple math. 70,000 chemicals, most of which are harmful. 1 or 2. It's ridiculous. Now, let's say that they actually start regulating e-cigs and paying outrageous taxes on it, because, let's face it, that's what they want to do. A lot of companies are going to go out of business. And that would suck, because, no, that's hurting the economy. You're shutting down small businesses by taxing them out of business. Like, that's not a good thing. And if you make it so that a bottle of e-liquid, 15 ml, is like 20 bucks, a lot of people are going to go back to smoking. And considering that this whole thing is, we're trying to save people, well, let them vape instead of smoke. Smoking kills. I haven't felt better in the past year than I have since before I started smoking. So, granted, I know I'm not a scientist, I know this isn't a scientific study, but empirical data is still data. And that's what this is about. This is stuff that I've seen. This is stuff that I've experienced. I feel better while I'm vaping, since I've been vaping, than I did while I was smoking. I taste things better. I can run now. The flavors are not marketed to kids. They're marketed towards adults that want a decent sample of things that they can vape. Yeah, some of it's cereal, some of it's candy. But, again, since when is candy exclusive to children? I mean, if you show me an adult that doesn't like candy, I'll show you an adult that, well, either doesn't eat candy or quite possibly is diabetic, in which case you get a pass. But hell, if you have diabetes, you can enjoy dessert. You can vape dessert flavors. That's awesome to me. Let's say you're lactose intolerant, so you can't have chocolate. Chocolate flavor. It's a wonderful, wonderful industry. The people in it are amazing. And trying to shut it down is just stupid. It's bad for people's health. It's bad for businesses. It's bad for small businesses, which, last I heard, we were trying to encourage. PayPal deciding, oh, we're not going to support this anymore. Okay, guess what? You just lost a bunch of business and now you look like a jackass. I mean, there's other ways to pay for stuff. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And there have been 0 studies that actually show that vaping is dangerous. Nothing has shown conclusively that vaping is dangerous unless they go to a point where it doesn't make any sense. Like that dry hit study, where it was high-powered, it was on a high-powered device, and it was a dry hit, sustained. Nobody does that. Nobody. I mean, they're trying so hard to show that it's bad for you that I think they've forgotten that the point of vaping is to stop smoking, which is one of the worst things that you can do. And it's insane. I don't understand why all of a sudden there's this idea that vaping is a horrible, horrible thing. And now they're trying to say that there's secondhand vapor. I mean, they already showed that that's not dangerous at all. It's fear-mongering. And it's good for the news agencies because they get more people tuning in because they can say, oh, I've got a friend that vapes. Let me see in what way he's killing himself so I can go and tell him, no, just no, stop that. Just no. So it's good for the news agencies. It's good for websites because they start putting out this stuff and scaring people, and then they've got more hits. But it's not a good thing. And it's great. It is absolutely phenomenal for the tobacco companies because if they can shut vaping down, all of a sudden they're going to have a lot of customers that they lost coming back to them. I mean, granted, they're slowly killing off their customers, but they've been doing it for years. And to be completely honest, they have way more money to throw at trying to make vaping illegal than we as vapers do to throw at them to make it not illegal. Or to keep it legal, rather. And it just needs to stop. Hopefully it will. But if vaping starts to become illegal, then I'm gonna stockpile all of it. Everything I can get my hands on. And I know that at this point I'm rambling, but it bothers me because this is something that I truly believe has saved my life. And it bothers me that there's misinformation out there where people are trying to get it shut down for no reason whatsoever aside from they want to line their pockets with cash. It's disgusting. So, here's what I want everyone to do. Get involved. There's always stuff going on. You can join CASA, CASAA.org. I'll put a link in the description. And if there's a bill up for in your state for putting extra taxes on vaping or making vaping illegal, which that would suck. Truly. Fight it. Write your representatives, call them, send them letters, emails, whatever. Just don't stand idly by, because if you stand idly by, then you can't complain if something happens and you can't vape anymore and you have to go back to smoking. It's time for everyone to get involved. Because, like I said, there's more money on the side of big tobacco, but I truly believe that there's more passion on the side of vaping. And I think that if we all join together, we can not only keep vaping legal and relatively cheap, I think we can make it better. Because this is also visibility for us. If we can come together and show that vaping is a good thing, it's only going to be better. Because more people are going to say, well, let me try my hand at making some e-liquid, and we might have the next serial killer on our hands. Everyone went crazy for that stuff. Still does. Maybe someone can do it better. Maybe someone will come out with an e-juice that is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Or maybe they'll come out with a sliced bread e-juice. Nobody knows. But if we just stand idly by and let bad things happen to this industry that we all care about and love so much, then we'll never know. And a lot of us are going to have to sacrifice our health if we have to go back to smoking. I know I will. Like I said, I have an addictive personality. I know that I still crave that nicotine. So that's not going to be good. It's going to be great for the tobacco companies, but for everyone else, it's going to suck. It's like I said, get involved. You have a voice. Use it. Let's keep this around for years to come, because it's only going to get better. I'm done for today. Like I said, I know I was rambling. Thank you for sticking with me. There's going to be links in the description. Get involved. That's all I can ask.